on a day-to-day basis, so while you are here, please enjoy it. Now we do have 44 beautiful Hobbit holes here on the set. They are all totally individual and of course in theory meant to house around 300 hobbits. But the little stone-walled path we walked through to come down onto the set, you might have recognised that if you've seen the movies. It is very famous. We call it Gandalfs Cutting. You see it notably in two different scenes, in two different films. The first time you see it, it follows the short video that you just saw on the bus where Frodo and Gandalf meet. That is where, of course, they ride into Hobbiton for the first time on their horse and cart. Now, those two actors, Frodo and Gandalf, in real life they are actually very similar in height, but you have hobbits at about 3 feet and wizards about 7 or 8 feet. So of course they couldn't sit them next to each other. So what they did, they built this cart, narrow but 3 meters long, sat Gandalf at the front, Frodo at the back. By doing so and positioning their cameras just right, it looks like they were still sitting next to each other, but they had about a 4 to 5 foot height difference. A very clever trick called forced perspective, and they use it a lot throughout the movies to create the height differences. However, the other time that we see that path is in the first Hobbit film. You might recall it right near the start after we see the dwarves and Gandalf pile into Bilbo's home. We see Bilbo wake up and realise he's missing out on the opportunity of his adventure. He runs down the hill, through this garden, straight down that path, his very long contract in his hand, and he yells, "I'm going on an adventure!" Sound familiar? Yeah? Awesome. Now guys, having walked around, I'm sure, hope you've noticed some of our Hobbit holes. Up to the side over here, the yellow, the blue, and behind over here, the green and the blue. I'm sure you've realised they are very different in size again. They are of course scaled to perspectives. These however are based on the height of the extras they used for the hobbits. The tallest of which being approximately 5'4", men included. So the two bigger doors are built at a 90% scale, small ones 60%. The small one was pretty much exclusively used to show Gandalf, to make him look significantly taller than the hobbits, and of course the big doors were used just for the hobbits to make it look like they were in the perfect sized home. But the beautiful garden right behind me, guys, I can also tell you is 99% real. There is one small exception, and it does sit right behind me on this little table here. So we have a few gourds lined up at the front, a couple pumpkins sitting right behind those. The potatoes that are in that box, however, have been here approximately 2 years now. So they of course are made of plastic, but everything else you'll see throughout this garden and the others that we have, it is all real. So we hire 5 full-time gardeners. They look after all of this for us. We grow a lot of real produce, as you can see, but the amount we grow is quite small and it's not enough to sell here. So the perfect perk of the job for the gardeners, of course, they do get to take all of it home. But lastly, I will direct your attention to the top of the hill. If you haven't noticed, there is the beautiful big green door. The oak tree standing very proudly on top of it. If you've seen any of the movies, I'm sure you'll recognise it. Can anybody tell me who lives in that Hobbit hole? Bilbo and? Frodo, exactly. Clearly you're all thinking the same thing. Congratulations. But that Hobbit hole, of course, belongs to Frodo and Bilbo Baggins. It is called Bag End. We will be heading up the hill and visiting a little bit later on, but for now, guys, we have seen 4 Hobbit holes, so that does mean that there are 40 more to go. So let's head up the hill and go see some.